So, sir, my first question is, being the CEO of MIMA, kindly tell us about your experience in the education industry.
So thank you so much. So as a CEO of this institute, I have been in the education industry for the last 5 years. Prior to which I was with the banking segment for almost about 16 years. And in this education segment, I primarily take up responsibilities of teaching, grooming, mentoring my students. And I also take active participation in the placement activities over here. My basic experience has always been that, it has been a passion that we have in terms of teaching, because I come from a family where, we have a tradition. My grandfather was a primary school principal. My father also has started his career in education in the very beginning. And of course, later on, he founded this Management Education Institute and the MITCON International School, MIS, which is a CBSE affiliated school operating in the same premise in Balewadi. So education has been it's been a passion for me always. So that is why it has been something which I really love to do, and passionately I do it. The experience has been very enriching because every year when we meet new students, it is always a pleasure to guide them, and every student is a different experience for me. But I take high pleasure and I take pride in that whenever I speak to every student.
That's really great, sir, and I'm really glad that you're carrying forward the legacy of your grandparent. Sir, my next question is, any of the significant challenges you faced as the CEO of MIMA?
Primarily, I would say that, since I came from the banking segment into education, although I had industry experience, but initial 1 or 2 years, the industry is totally different. The dynamics are totally different over here. So to get myself in tune with the dynamics of this segment took some amount of time. Secondly, although I always have, participated in debate competitions, etc. So my stage fear and, standing in front of the audience has never been a problem for me. But now when I come in front of my students initially when I used to come in front of them as a teacher, as a professor. So sometimes, to adjust myself to their level would be a slightly difficult, issue for me, because when you're in the industry, when you speak to your customers, they always know more than you. But here, when you talk to the students, they are younger than you. So you need to, you don't need to show off your, your knowledge in front of them. You actually need to come down to their level so that, you're able to make them understand those aspects. So that was one of the challenges. And second, obviously, has been because I joined this, in this industry in the year 2018, at the end of 18. 2019 was where I actually started taking up things very actively in my hand. But soon after that, maybe 6 months after that, we had the first outbreak of COVID. So the last 2 years, practically as a CEO, it has been very difficult for me to stride through the challenges that COVID itself has placed on us. But I'm happy that the institute is now in a new building, in a new premise. In spite of all the challenges that we faced in the situation of COVID, we have been successfully able to come into the new campus. And now we are poised with a new energy to take it further ahead to great heights.
That's amazing, sir. That's really amazing, like how you coped up with the situation and then how you faced it. That's really amazing, sir. So then my next question is, what is the biggest challenge during the pandemic and how did you manage it? I guess you have already answered it.
But I'll still add 1 or 2 points to this.
Yes, sure.
The pandemic basically has, it has changed the entire dimension, the way we traditionally used to look at education. Education was primarily where we had students in the class and they would be attending lectures, there would be case studies, there would be submissions, there would be a lot of participation from them. But this is something that has not happened during the pandemic. So that very formal way of imparting education has not been there. And the biggest challenge was that, getting into the online mode was not all that difficult. But maintaining that same formal, framework when you delivered online lectures was one of the biggest challenges. But I think it's an even probably an equal challenge when students have again resumed back into the offline mode, not the new batch, but probably the batch which was 1 year in the online and the other year in the offline. For them, it has been a very difficult cultural shift because, that batch has really spent, one entire year sitting at home, and along with studying, on Zoom or whatever, on Google Meet, at the same time multitasking somewhere else also. They have been doing some other work. They have been whatever. They have been working somewhere part time. So because of that, the entire attention span which has to be there on their education probably was not there. So that was one of the difficulties that we faced. I mean, of course, everybody faced these difficulties, but these were primarily which was there as far as the pandemic was concerned.
I totally agree, sir. So, sir, what professional development activities have you undertaken recently?
Recently, we have undertaken activities in our college. We have something called as a brand new program for our students, where students who have, who appear for their interviews in their fourth semester, generally we ask them to undergo a very rigorous program called as a brand new program, where we start, discussing with them about soft skills, about presentation skills, interview skills, how to, sit in front of the panel when you appear for a GD or a PI. These are the things that we speak to them about. We also talk to them about dressing, the way they need to dress up, the way they need to groom themselves. Apart from this, also we have now introduced, right from the day one when the students would join us, we would be having spoken English sessions with them, because students did come to us from all the walks of the country.
Yes.
They come to us from various places across the nation. So everybody, may not be that fluent, or even if they are fluent, they may not be that confident when they come, when it comes to speaking in English. So a little bit of, doses here and there are required for them to, accept English as one of their, easy languages to speak in. So that is one. We also have, started something called as a finishing school program in association with Mr. Minochar Patel. And he takes in about, a program for 6 to 9 days, where he's more of a, finishing school coach, along with also being a mentorship coach with regards to motivational training. So this kind of a very rigorous approach goes in for 6 to 7 days, 9 days also at a stretch. And it's a certificate program that is given to them. So these are the few initiatives of upskilling that we have done. Apart from this, for the new batch, the incumbent batch, which will be there in the month of August, we have certain new initiatives like data sciences is one of the labs that is there in this. We also have set up, an Indo-Korean center, which primarily talks about, training the students in the Korean language. So because there are a lot of Korean industries that are there in Pune or even in India. So that will give them a lot of opportunity and an edge when they appear for interviews. So a couple of initiatives are coming up. We are also enhancing our syllabus. When we talk about, suppose, the specialization in finance, we don't want to stick to only the basics of finance. We are coming up with some additional modules. Of course, I would not be able to tell you the details right now.
Yes.
Because that's under construction. But, we will be coming up with those very soon. Probably in a month's time, we will be launching some new initiatives in finance as well.
That's really amazing, sir. And especially I really like the Korean part that you talked about.
Yeah.
So, sir, my next question is, what goal do you have in mind for MIMA for the next few years?
First of all, I would say MIMA has to, come to a level where, it has to have the best quality, professionals that create for the industry. We do not intend to, go in for a huge amount of intake. I mean, we don't really want to have 500 students or 1,000 students. We don't believe in the number game. We want that, we have less number of students so that we focus on building up the best quality. That is what we are trying to do in this. So these students have to be enriched in terms of their skills, in terms of languages, in terms of any domain skills that are required. So suppose somebody who wants to work in HR, we try to impart more and more domain skills to them. We try to impart, suppose if somebody wants to work in finance, we try to impart more and more domain skills of finance to them. So we want to create a chunk of better qualified professionals, better trained professionals, so that they are accepted in the industry at various levels, and the quality of the employment and everything increases over a period of time. So apparently what happens is in the next probably 5 years, we become, today, whatever league that we are classified in, we go a notch higher in the next 5 years.
That's great, sir. So, sir, this would be my last question. Being the CEO of MIMA, what suggestions would you like to give to the current youth and the aspiring students in general?
Two major things. One is that, when they are on in these 2 years, the upcoming 2 years that they will be there in the management education, primarily they have to spend time in developing their skills. Because now what has happened is after the pandemic, when the industry has opened up, everybody requires a professional who can start the work on day one. Nobody will give you time to really start. They will not give you a month कि आप ठीक है आप join करो, सीखो, फिर शुरू करो. It will not happen right now. So you need to really build up those skills in these 2 years, which will help you to start your work immediately. Second thing that has to happen over here is they should start focusing on building up skills, which will not just help them to start, but which will also help them to sustain in the business. Because I have seen in my own banking career, candidates have joined us, and in a span of 1 month or 2 months they quit the job. They are not able to sustain. So they really have to start working on those aspects as well. And finally, when I talk about the youth, you do need to spend some time on social media that is agreeable, but try to cut down on that time. And if you really are on the internet, try to read better stuff. There are a lot of other things to read rather than simply being on on the social media just to increase the number of followers, because those followers won't really help you when it comes to giving an interview.
Yes.
It will it will be you yourself who's going to go and sit for an interview and perform in your job. So read more of stuff which will help you to prepare your own personality, your own communication. And when you're rich in content, I don't think anybody will stop you from getting into any good job in any company.
I totally agree with you, sir. And upskilling oneself should be the target, because this is the time because data science and artificial intelligence are replacing the jobs.
Correct.